Шановні колеги, партнери, представники медіа, ми починаємо.
Dear partners, dear mass media representatives, we are starting our conference dedicated to the World No Tobacco Day, and it's being gradually celebrated on the 31st of May. And beforehand, we are presenting a long-awaited research survey, the GYTS, Global Youth Tobacco Survey. It's a global research. It's a part of the standardized methodological researches that this assessment is done in many countries, so more than 40 countries around the globe. And we are, because of that, so we can do the comparison analysis, we can do benchmarking, and we can do trends, and not just on the level of the country, but also on the level of the region or the whole world arena. Therefore, with the great pleasure, I am passing the welcoming remark, and for the first to present, I am welcoming the head of WHO country office in Ukraine, Jarno Habicht. Jarno, the floor is yours.
Дякую, Andriy. Доброго ранку. I will speak in English, and thank you for such an interest on tobacco control, us all getting together around the World No Tobacco Day, and also witnessing the results from the Global Youth Tobacco Survey, which allows us to reflect how far we have gone since 2005, and it gives us a picture of developments over the last 2 decades. It allows us to reflect how the new tobacco products are impacting our youth and next generation to have healthier Ukraine. And it allows us to see also what has happened since the new tobacco regulation is in place, and we at the same time are living in the country of war since the Russian Federation invasion on 24th of February 2022, because the data is reflecting the situation in 2023. So thank you for coming, and let me also reflect a little bit on the data. But we have a number of presentations after my statements as well, so bear with us, because colleagues will show the data in Ukraine, but then also discuss about the policy measures as well, how Ukraine is comparable with other countries in Europe. I think when we look at the situation now and 2 decades ago, we have something to celebrate. The situation is much better in 2023 compared to 2005. So I like to thank everybody who has been engaged in tobacco control, the public health authorities, the ministries. Here also behind this study, we have both the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education, all the civil society organizations who have been working on tobacco control. So you have something to celebrate. And I think that's an important news. And then particularly in the 2 areas, we have seen improvement when it comes to second-hand smoke in the public places, as well the exposure to the tobacco in media and entertainment. So these are the 2 areas really where we have seen steady improvement if we are looking to the study that we have and the data here. So I will not go to all the data, but I highlight something which is important to reflect on tobacco control and thinking about youth. In all other areas, we have also improvement compared to 2005. The key question is, should we compare us to 2005 or 2017? Because if we compare the results to 2017, the situation is much more gloomier and not so good. And in spite of the new tobacco regulation, we see that our youth are much more exposed to the tobacco products, new tobacco products, and smoking. And we need to ask from ourselves, as we mark the World No Tobacco Day, what is behind that? How we unmask that, what is behind these results. Let me bring some of the elements when I was reading the study that makes me concerned. When in the public places, our youth are not exposed to the secondhand smoke, then at home, next to the family, friends, we see that almost 25% are exposed to the secondhand smoke. And it was around 20% just a few years ago. So that means that it has an impact to their health, even if they are not smokers themselves. And we need to ask what the family members are thinking about that. When we look to overall cigarette smoking, then in 2017 it was 9.2%, and it has increased now to 12.3%. That's another 3% point increase. So our youth are smoking more. And if we look to the new products, then the e-cigarettes are used by every fifth student in the age of 13 to 15. And that will have huge impact. We are talking currently what will be the day after, how Ukraine will grow and be healthier after the war. But we rely on those youth and their health for the next generation. When I'm looking to the heated and smokeless tobacco, the new products that have been introduced less than 10 years ago, we see that the heated tobacco is used by 6.9% of children, youth. And I just compare to the adults. Even we don't talk about adult smoking levels today, but it's 2 times more. So when we have only 3% of adults using heated tobacco a few years ago, it is 2 times more for youth. And when we look to the smokeless tobacco, among youth, it is now 5.1%. Among adults, it is 1%. It is 5 times more than the adults. So what we will see is actually the tobacco epidemics in Ukraine is growing, and especially for youth, and it will become even a bigger public health matter in the years to come. So while we have done very strong steps in the past years, we need to think how to go further. And this data is extremely important to consider also what the war impact will be and how we can come out from after war. So what we can do, and my colleagues will talk more about that. I think we need to strengthen the enforcement, because we have regulation. The question is, are we enforcing it properly, both in public places, and at the same time we need to raise the awareness and youth education. We know the programs that are active in Ukraine, which are related to smoke-free schools, youth education. We need to bring that knowledge to them, that they can drive a healthier future for themselves and for Ukraine. The third area, in addition to enforcement and education, is that we need to regulate better the emerging products, because we see already from the data in 2023 the impact to the youth. And finally, we need to support those who have addiction and who are smoking for the cessation services, to try to support those who want to quit. So these are the 4 simple things, which actually are not always so simple to do. So I really like to thank you that you're coming. We are discussing it. But now it depends on us, because this is a survey that is available for every 4 to 5 years. When we meet again in 5 years, now it depends on us, our public, media, regulators, public health colleagues, how actually we act on those numbers. And are we seeing higher levels of smoking in 5 years before 2030? Or we start to see actually improvement? I hope that we start to see improvement, but this means that we all need to work together. And finally, I like to thank those who have been involved in this study. As I said, it's the Minister of Health, Minister of Education, Ukraine Institute of Social Research, Marzeev Institute of Public Health, Ukraine Public Health Center, a lot of colleagues. So I thank you that you bring this data up at the time of war, in the difficult times, because this is about our youth, this is about the future of Ukraine, and this is about the human capital that we have in Ukraine. So thank you, Дякую, and you will have much more details also from colleagues who will follow me. Thank you. Дякую.
Thank you so much, Jarno. Well, thank you for such a warm overview of this research and survey. It's so important. Messages are so important. For a short intro, I'm giving the floor to our partners, which is Tatiana Skapam, Director of the Directorate of Public Health and Ministry of Health of Ukraine. Tatiana, the floor is yours. Thank you so much, Andriy. Thank you so much, dear colleagues, dear representatives, dear friends, journalists, activists. In all earnest, it's a pleasure to see such an activity, such an interest in the area of fighting against tobacco. Because, as Jarno had mentioned, from this, the future of our country depends upon. The health and well-being of our population, that is the future of our country, depends upon. And so today our activity is dedicated to the World Anti-Tobacco Day. And the topic of this year is the finding out the illusion for it being. And so from this research, what we are seeing is the use, and when it matters of unmasking the appeal, they are picking the ones that are more appealing for them, which is e-cigarettes and which is the tobacco products with the added flavors, values, and whatnot. And independently of all of those initiatives and the political will that has really been present throughout the past few years, and because of which we were able to adapt our legislation and regulation to improve it within the fighting against tobacco. But in reality, the tobacco industry and big tobacco is not slowing down, and those new marketing events, activities, and approaches that they are providing to the advertisement, to pushing forward their products, to promotion, to getting to the market new types, novel types of tobacco products. And unfortunately so, in Ukraine as in any other country, together with that in the European Union as well, policy is not catching up with the aggressive actions of tobacco industry and with the aggressive marketing that we are seeing in the tobacco industry. And so this illusion that tobacco in products can be appealing or are appealing, we need to destroy it from the ground, uproot it as much as possible. Today we will hear the results of latest GITS survey that is extremely important, because we are really having that data, factual data on the tobacco use and nicotine products use in our country. And those numbers are helping us together pick up the tools that are needed to be implemented by us to limit the spread of among the youth, and especially among youth. If you look at the data, I was fascinated that almost 50%, so almost half of children that were trying to buy tobacco product or nicotine product, they were able to do that, meaning that those subjects that are selling tobacco products, they are essentially, by this data, they're not following the regulations, they're not following the law, and they're selling tobacco products to children that did not reach age of 18 years, which is the direct prohibition. And for me, as representatives of WHO, or of Ministry of Health, beg your pardon, for me, it's important to think, what else can we do so that the businesses would actually follow the requirements of the regulation? And this is a challenge for us, and this is a challenge for the colleagues from the Food Safety Service that are doing those matters of the observation and control measures, to think what else can be done. What else can be done so that those cases would be minimized as much as possible, or to be put to zero? Because the accessibility to tobacco, nicotine, and also among children, those are the challenges for our future generations, our future actions as well. And really, children, and they're much more vulnerable, both on perception, on the advertisement, and like any kind of marketing things. But we do know for sure that nicotine causes addiction, and addiction is a disease. And even if now in the pediatric or adolescent age, children are getting used to nicotine products through the use of tobacco or other type of products, then it's clear to us that in the future it's so much harder for them to actually get rid of this dependency or this addiction. And so the results of this research are telling us vocally that almost 5 out of 10 students that as of this time are smoking, and yet again we understand that those are adolescents, those can be the category of people that have not yet reached the age of 18. And so among those 5 out of 10 that are smoking, are trying to quit smoking, I can't do that in the past 12 months. Meaning, or saying that from one side, it's a really good effort and a message that those children right now understand that nicotine and tobacco products use is the negative thing for them, and they want to get rid of this dependency as much as possible. But from what we can see and hear, and what we think is a very good in this area of work, which is that all of those activities that are dedicated to bringing this information up to people, to children, adults, that smoking is harmful for the health of the population, they are working. But independently on all of that, what we are seeing is this is just half of the job. This is why for all of us, there is like a field to work in of bringing even more information, so that 10 out of 10 children that would start smoking, for them to be willing to stop, wanting to stop, and for them to be successful in stopping. Therefore, only with joint efforts, and I'm always saying that, and all the colleagues are saying that, we will be able to reach to that appointed objective to protect not just adults but children, first and foremost children, and to create for them a safe environment without tobacco all overall. So just to create an environment, no tobacco environment, no nicotine environment. Therefore, I'm so grateful to our partners, to WHO, to Ministry of Science and Education, to Public Health Center, Ukrainian Center of Social Research and Sciences, and to every one of you that are, and every partner that are working on the country, to working on to decrease this negative influence And I'm hopeful that we will be able to achieve this ambitious goal that we place in front of ourselves. So within that and within the full-scale invasion, unfortunately, that Ukraine is at right now, even though and we are doing amazing things, and those things are causing like fascination among the colleagues. Therefore, I'm urging you not to stop, move forward, and only to grow the capacity to act so that children would live in the country free of tobacco. Thank you, Tatiana, for the reflection, and thank you so much for the description of the legislative changes that we expected will have an effect. We will speak about that during the discussion. Now I'm passing the floor to partners from the Public Health Center, Alexander Yuchenko, Deputy Director of Public Health Center. Greetings, dear colleagues, greetings, friends, or people who care, and people who joining us was the fight with tobacco. And I'm so happy that we were able to gather here together before the World Free of Tobacco Day that had been started by the WHO in 1987. And I also want to, after the preliminary colleagues who have mentioned and welcomed us with this, to say just a few things. First of all, that as of today, all of the international research, all of the international everything, that they are not just the classical tobacco is the harmful and has the list of diseases and has a predictor of preterm death, but also modern system for heated tobacco products, HTPs. They're also unsafe for health. They're also dangerous for health, creating the same issues for health as for regular tobacco products. It's special danger, as we saw, what is caused by the efforts of the industry, of tobacco industry, that they're being putting in so that more and more people to be involved to the usage of tobacco products or nicotine-containing products. Tobacco-containing products use youngsters, adolescents, and so this is a strong predictor on what does the attention has to go to, and to establish the best condition possible so that this would not happen in the whole system. Marketing actions that are done by the tobacco industry by creating around this new tobacco products the aura of being likable or comfortable, or it is an issue that both the government and everybody else in the society in general would be able to timely respond to those new marketing challenges from those manufacturers. And as a representative of Public Health Center, what I'd just like to mention is that Public Health Center, not just before, not just at this day, not just at any other day or being mentioned or in the calendar as days fighting with tobacco or as days of doing something or doing our jobs, but we are constantly doing our job. We are constantly working so that to teach our society, to teach, and what's important, to teach the adolescents to treat their health, to think critically on smoking and use of tobacco or nicotine containing products. We are constantly working on the improvement of awareness raising among the population. This is first and foremost both our line of work in the social media. This is our line of work constantly with the population and with our partners. And I'm so grateful to WHO for such a wonderful survey, for such a wonderful research that will be presented today. And I'm hopeful that it can be a backbone for the strong legislative changes in our country. Thank you so much. Alexander, thank you so much. And to every other speaker, thank you so much. Dear colleagues, we are moving to the main part of the meeting. It will consist of 3 presentations. The first 20 minutes will be presenting the main results of the research together with our partners and with the Institute of Social Studies and Survey. And then we'll ask our international speaker, Angela Ciobanu, who will give us a comparison analysis or benchmarking of what is happening on the regional level. And we'll finish up with the matters, questions and answers for journalists. And later then we will have a discussion on what we've heard. So please prepare your questions. Some of the aspects maybe are not going to be highlighted. And so we will be able to discuss them further during this roundtable that will be dedicated to the discussion of the results and of the way forward, so what can be done there. So the first presentation is from me. I do have the slides and I'll be happy to start. Okay, colleagues, as I mentioned before, this is the standardized research and survey. And as I mentioned before, that those are 4 ways of research that we can compare in between themselves. Starting from 2025, from 2005, I think he meant 2005. So what is being mentioned? So what did we research? So it covers like also the use of any kind of tobacco product, also current daily use or any kind of use of tobacco, to tobacco cessation, readiness to actually quit smoking, and motivation to quit smoking. The influence of secondhand smoking, we know that this research is really, really profound and it's really complex, because under secondary or secondhand smoking, we understand that not just smoke in regular meaning or understanding, but also aerosols that are perceived as smoke. And so when we are seeing the influence of secondhand smoking or secondary smoke in answers of children, it partially also considers aerosols and influence of those electronic cigarettes or HTPs that can be used, for example, either by parents or in restaurants or any other businesses by other users. And so advertisement and promotion of tobacco products is a big portion. As Jarno had mentioned, in this area of work, we do have a strong movement forward, as both in visual representation and in other matters. So the accessibility of those products and knowledge about them. So this was like a more generic slide, and I know we did this survey together in the cooperation with the foundation, with the CDC Atlanta, and this research has always been supported by the Ministry of Health of Ukraine and Ministry of Science and Education. That didn't join us today, but we will be sharing this information with them and we'll be continuing moving forward with them. And so I, yet again, was not informed. Okay, we do have Ministry of Education and Sciences. Okay, but I'm so happy that you're here and we will have a talk with you later. This is so important for us, because without your support, we understand that this is the complex topic. We would not be able to achieve this in schools. So the first 3 rounds were done by the Institute of Public Health, named after Marzeyev, the representative of which has been there. And this round has been conducted by the Ukrainian Institute of Social Research, named after O. Yaremenko. So what do we have? We have a country within the 2017 coordinates. We looked in the middle of the way, because the top usage of all tobacco product has been assessed at 28%, for example, in Bulgaria. And the lowest was in Tajikistan, only 3%. Our indicator has been like in the middle of that, like 15%. So now they are 17. And most likely it was the updated files. You will see Ukraine in different categories. Therefore, the main result before tobacco products, we need to understand what this is the whole range of tobacco products present on the market. Also, tobacco products for smoking, water pipe, hookah, shisha, HTPs, and also was the classical cigarettes. Therefore, from 17.6% of adolescents mentioned they did not use that over the past 30 days. So meaning, okay, so they use that for the past 30 days, meaning they are users, active users. On the cigarette, only 12.3% are usage of regular cigarettes, are current users of cigarettes. So we have a good distribution of how often children smoke, from 1 cigarette to 20 cigarettes per day. And this category can be analyzed separately. And we have a big and significant cohort of like really heavy smokers that are saying that they're smoking a pack or more a day. And also are the ones that are saying, 1 cigarette per day, and this is not like daily. And as was mentioned before, tobacco products of heated tobacco products or HTPs, we did not assess them in dynamically because the matter did not present in previous questionnaires. But this is an important thing to understand that almost 7% of adolescents mentioned that they are using now heated tobacco products. So nicotine products or smokeless or smoke-free nicotine product is a whole group that's supposed to they don't have tobacco, but supposed to be regulated based on tobacco products. So 2.9% of students are using nicotine pouches. The products, they're almost not regulated whatsoever. They're in a clean way. They just deliver nicotine in a different way from mucus of your oral cavity. And so it's a novel product. Never seen before on its regulation. There's many questions, but what we can see is that 3% of children are already using those pouches to get the nicotine in their system. And so the biggest cohort, which is 19.6% of students, are almost non-changeable aspect from 2017 of children who are using electronic cigarettes or vapes. Secondhand smoking or secondhand smoke. Here it's more so, my colleague Tatiana Bondar will be mentioning the trend so that you would understand in comparison, like 1/4 of children mention that from time to time they're exposed to tobacco smoke at homes. And the 36% in the enclosed environment, public spaces like cumulatively are being exposed to tobacco smoke. The advertisement and sales promotion. Independently of the fact that we have a robust and over-encompassing regulation and policies to prohibit any kind of sponsorship, ads, promotion, and the points of sale, the promotion stays a promotion, even though it's presented as just information for the consumer. And this is the constant, never-ending story. How are we presenting ads in the points of sale? Not looking at a few of the attempts to regulate this and to stop selling, promoting cigarettes through the exposition and the points of sale, it's still staying an issue. And the biggest category of children, they're seeing ads, as I think, and specifically at points of sale. This is why I'm saying right away that the points of sale is advertisement. And so it's also being considered like that by children. And a significant cohort of children, comparing with 2017, which is a bit of an improvement, they considered that they saw that something was a promotion for tobacco in mass media or something else, so that they started to be more aware. So knowledge and perception. Here, we understand that children are knowledgeable, but especially in secondhand smoking, but still 47%, I don't know if this is a lot of it, this is not a lot, they think that tobacco smoke are harmful for them and for others, so the secondhand smoking. At the same time, 81 or 82% even of students spoke in favor of a complete ban of smoking in any kind of enclosed public spaces, nicotine usage in public spaces, and any kind of enclosed environment. So it's a high level of support, to be honest, knowing this. Those are adolescents, and we know all of the aspects of adolescence and in the assessment of the overall situation. So there is a positive dynamics, positive trends for past 20 years. So we have a significant decrease of use of any tobacco products from 26 to 17% in this movement forward. The exposure to secondhand smoking has also been decreased in this dynamic, which was a quarter of population, which much more than that in 2005. And exposed to tobacco smoke in enclosed public spaces had decreased from 84% in 2005, and this was much higher than now 36% we have. But 36, is that the target? The target is supposed to be 0. Later on, the percentage of adolescents that I mentioned, that they noticed that the tobacco messages, it has increased in media, and now it's 61%, or say almost 62%. At the same time, the percentage of, yet again, use that noticing advertising in the point of sale has decreased because the load of promotion has decreased from 62% in 2017 to 49.5% in 2023. Alarming trends and tendencies and whatnot. in any and all categories of tobacco and nicotine products, there is a trend of stagnation or growth in consumption. Especially the analysis in your hands, which is teenagers, years 13 to 15 years of age, are 80% of the cohort of tested and within the survey people. So 80%, this is not just ones or singular people. This is from 13 to age of 15. Every fifth teenager are using e-cigarettes. As an alternative, tobacco and nicotine products, like those nicotine pouches, HTP, smokeless tobacco, which are the biggest threat because the double or triple usage, because of the widening of set of what can be considered and what can be used. This is why we're seeing this partial growth in usage, because the adolescents are trying it, and so they're prone to risky behavior and also to the usage of new or novel. So it's something new, something attractive, and also advertisement. And despite positioning tobacco products as products and nicotine for adults, what we're seeing is a big cohort of youth of adolescents are using that even more so than adults, especially for novel products. And so accessibility is still an issue because we know during war, control measures of state control, they're much more restrictive. And so we see, unfortunately, results of that. The last thing, we don't know what kind of a negative impact on smoking prevalence was done by the ongoing full-scale invasion and war and the humanitarian crisis, but we know it had a significant influence. So how it would have looked like if everything was good in another world, we don't know. In reality, this is it. This is it for me. And so reinforcement of the regulation, promotion, following and implementing regulations and policies are all important recommendations that we will discuss with you during this roundtable. Thank you all so much. And I'm passing the floor to my colleague, to Tatiana Bondar, to the Ukrainian Institute of Social Research. Tatiana, the floor is yours. I see. You also have 10 to 15 minutes, and then the questions and the answers. And then thank you so much. Just a few slides and with data, with numbers for like food for your brain, food for your thoughts, for future challenges, critical aspect issues that might be happening for also future line of work. So this questionnaire of 2023. It was done in December of 2023. 19 regions of Ukraine has participated, so the regions where we were able to move out to. And so it was the self-filling questionnaire for students from the 7th to 11th grade. So this was an offline interview, it wasn't an online interview. And in 2023, we were able to ask more than 4,000 children from 111 educational facilities. There has been a number of regions that has been excluded because of the occupation and active warfare, and also because the training has been done only online, so we could not have collected the data offline. A few words about the emotional status of our children. I'd just like to remind you, this is December 2023, therefore biggest part of was the upset of the New Year celebration. Despite the war, despite whatever's happening, adults are still trying to create for children like a safe space, a space of like holiday or anything that can be possible. So around like half of children are saying that the life is filled with wondrous things and exercises and whatnot. But there are 40% that don't have anything good that they're waiting for. Those are children that are closer to the territories near the front lines, and of course there the situation with the emotional welfare, it's completely different. Therefore, more than half of them, they're waking up energized and feeling great. Yet again, there is a half of them that don't feel great when they wake up, and almost a third of them are saying that almost never, or even less than half of the cases, before the questionnaire, they've been energized and had really good mood. This also can influence like to any kind of behavioral things and matters and whatnot that we were trying to research and study. So on the present experience, so at least one or two times, at least once they've tried, which is as a positive. We see from 1989 we had such a positive trend for the decrease, and so now we have like an increase really. Maybe it was caused by different events, which is, I think the next wave of research will be highly representative, and so we'll be waiting for that. And so we have an increase, a number almost twice of people who smoke at least one cigarette during 30 days before the survey has been conducted. So on the age of first experience, of their first time, this is 12 or 13 years of age, so active teenage years, when there's a lot of things people are trying what is interesting, useful, and so they are allowing themselves to try that. In the same way, an important role is being played in any kind of behavioral actions. As we all know, your same group of people. So this is the closest, the nicest groups of information and sources of information that is actively used in any kind of position. The use and also your friends and your social groups are being called as the sources of information. 80% mentioned it's most likely, then yes, if it's going to be a proposal from a friend, then most likely I'll say yes, I'll try to use tobacco or nicotine products. Even though the adolescents, they're looking at one another, they're trying to copy each other's behavior, and therefore this is an important factor as well. Regarding alternative smoking methods like the water pipe of hookah, we can see that in 22.5% in 2023 of children have experience of using it, but this decreases within the years. And so I'm thinking that also the accessibility and affordability to those means are decreasing, also the price and how easy it is to get it. It's a lot of things are influencing. And also 5% from those who had this experience, they smoked the past 30 days, so like at least once, somewhere, somehow, with any kind of products. But based on the age groups, what we can see here, on any categories, there is a decrease in the number of people who are trying it for the first time, apart from the higher age groups, 14 to 16, where this percentage of people who are trying for the first time is trying much higher than in 2017. We spoke a lot of the things about how noticeable, how students are noticing somebody telling them that, oh, it's bad, or the health promotion is done. So 50% saw the health promotion materials and they didn't even want to try. So this is a great sign that it was a conscious decision. But there are people that didn't think, okay, I saw it, never thought of that. Like how those pictures really can influence my consciousness, my behavior, and 7%, a small percentage, but yet again, they thought that most likely I will probably need to quit smoking as soon as possible. Regarding prevention of tobacco use in schools, and so as we saw that 45% have actually participated in school training on the negative consequences from tobacco use in the past 12 months. So there is a percentage, 22% of them, that said it's hard to answer. This is most likely children. They're not always clear to them that, oh, it's either a separate lecture or in a separate class. They have like an information about how bad the smoking is. Because when you start to talk to them separately, then they finally remember, oh, yeah, we had this class and the teacher had been there and so expert had been there and so additional. And so this factor has actually been there, even though it's being decreased in numbers. Within the year to year, there is a decrease. Because I think that right now there's like a lot of topics of safety, right? There's a lot of things are given to safety matters, and so, but I still think that 45% is a good result of what was mentioned, that schools, as much as possible, are continuing to do this line of work. And as usually among the village population, you have a bigger value among the group, but it's not that of a big of a difference among the like city population that participated in this survey. The main source of this information or getting cigarettes among the youth was most likely this is either buying or getting them from somebody else. So usually friends or relatives, social circle, neighbors or somebody else. So there's like a number of materials, and what we see is that 8% of them, they got it from like unknown people. Their first cigarette, their first try was done by somebody they never knew before. And regarding that somebody did not allow them to buy cigarettes if they wanted to, Andriy had mentioned that, and we saw that 5% of children, they're saying, oh, I had no issues in buying cigarettes. So they were not asked, not a passport, they didn't ask for the ID, and it was they easily sold it. So the boys are usually getting a no answer than the girls. It's much easier for girls to buy it, as it turned out. I have even been like a witness of that situation myself. And I was intruding into that situation, of course. And 4% of them said that, oh, they said no because of age. Only 4%. So that they were trying to buy, but they were unable to do that because there has been a lot of attention given to their age. And so, as most of the sources, right, of in their first try, the sources of data gathering from any kind of topics, and also the form of support that they're giving. If you want to stop smoking, most likely it's like a friend or a female friend or parts of the family. And what you can see, the parts of the family have increased in numbers of the ones who helped them start smoking compared to 2017. So we understand here that this is the time into the survey itself. So it's COVID or war. So most of the children have been with the parents, and so parents might be seeing, okay, the child is distressed or something is happening, and follow them faster or more. So this percentage is growing, and the percentage of the friends that are told them to use it. So yet again, I've tried. Oh, you try it as well. So, or things like that. So this was an active in spread of the first time ever use. 17% are saying that, oh, it's so easy for them to quit smoking. So as soon as I want, I will simply quit smoking. 6% are saying that, oh, it's hard for me to do that. And so this is what Andriy had mentioned, that are using a lot, are smoking a lot during the day. So this is like a significant dependency, but 77% never smoked, which was a good sign. The main motivating factor of why I want to quit smoking was to improve my health. And as you can see, if in 2017 we only had 1% of them, it dropped in 2017 for some reason 41%. And I think that we need to, in the research, to study why did it happen that way, the importance of health. But it did raise in 2023 itself by not getting to those indicators, of course, that have been till 2011, but still it's there. And so an important factor there in 2023 have been in saving funds, and because my family did not like that I'm smoking. Regarding this social comfort, right, and how children are perceiving tobacco and the comfort of any kind of social activity during parties or doing like any social gathering, public events or what. As we can see, around a third of them are feeling comfortable, a third of them are feeling less comfortable, and 30% are saying that this does not influence their comfort level whatsoever. The fact that it goes against what we mentioned before on the previous slides, and this is also like those challenges that we unfortunately have to work with in the future, and to know why this happens that way, knowing full well that it's bad for your health. But this secondhand smoking, when you just located in the facility, so the 40% think that this does not influence them however they want. So secondhand smoking and in closed public facilities, and during the 7 days, we had 70% of children actually facing that. And in 2023, so those were the numbers who daily, somewhere, somehow are going and being somewhere in those enclosed facilities. The safety for public spaces, we see it's decreasing, the percent of the secondhand smoking in public spaces. In the past 7 days that have been before the questionnaire was done, the smoking in the premises of school, which was the answers of children, how often during classes you see that other people are smoking, either in school or in the premises of school. We see 38% of children saw somebody smoking or other people smoking on the school premises, on the school grounds. And so it's not the critical mass, it's not the highest of possible levels, but it is a number that you have to work with and just think like, okay, why does this happen? Like, what is the reason for that? Even though we see a general decrease in that, and if we know that the indicators are not going to decrease drastically from 10 to 0 and whatnot, and from 100 to 0, but we see that in 2005, we had 82 and now 38. this is an increase, even though it's not the best number for us, but this is the positive trend, and what we're seeing is improvement. So the knowledge or use awareness of dangers of secondhand smoking or smoke, and the portion of ones that know that it's harmful to inhale smoke from other person smoking. And so we see that half of students or half of children, even 70% more, 70% think it's most likely yes that secondhand smoking also influences my health. And they also know that there is harm from smoking. So there's no big difference between female or male population. So both sexes know that they recognize it, that it's the same level of influence. So HTPs, here we only have the data of 2023. We did not have this before. Regarding awareness, we see the overall numbers is 43%. It's boys are a bit higher levels than the girls. Experience in 17% of males, and this is tried twice, of inhaling twice. The experience of using e-cigarettes, as we can see that overall 45% of youth have it, and so there's not a significant difference between male and female population. The girls are more prone slightly to have it because it just in some moments it's nice in the design, it looks nice, and so we make a focus group discussion. So they're just asking, oh, it looks so nice, oh, I want it, and it's just so nice to have. The experience of usage in e-cigarettes among youth, the level of knowledge on the harmfulness of that. And we know that 56.6% are telling us that this is very harmful for your health to use any cigarettes. And so also it's a significant percentage among both the male and female population. But there is a small percentage of ones who think that this is not as harmful, so they don't have to understand like how really harmful that is from e-cigarettes. For nicotine pouches, 37% heard something about their existence, 7% tried them, like at some point in their life to try those nicotine pouches. And in the place, in cities, the part of those people or children who know about that are bigger because it's more accessible, it's more prevalent of those pouches, it's just higher. The level of knowledge or awareness, as we see here, we see that it increases with age. The older the child is, the bigger the number of people that know that things exist, or those activities, facilities, and whatnot. And also we are increasing in numbers of ones who are trying, who have at least just one or two inhales of that, or ever tried in their lives. Also depending on their age, starting for age of 14, 15, and so how adolescents are noticing those events or messages pro-tobacco in the past 30 days. As we can observe, and less than half of them are saying that they noticed that there has been visual anti-tobacco messages, but there is still half of them that other never seen anti-tobacco messages on TV, radio, billboards, media, because they're not watching on their phone and are just in their phones and not pointing their attention, or just don't give it any attention that, okay, there are any concerning anti-tobacco messaging on television. So how noticeable are the visibility of anti-tobacco messages in schools or public places, concerts, and whatnot? So we see that the numbers of people recognizes those messages growing. This is usually like banners, posters that are spread in schools or at school grounds or school premises, and you know of that. And presence of classes on the tobacco in comparison with the past 12 months. You can see the percentages here. This is left column, and less than half said that, okay, they had classes against tobacco, and around a third of them, independently of gender and type of residence, they said we did not have any classes, and like around a fourth of them are saying that they don't know, those are not putting any attention, or just like seeing something but not really seeing. So like listening but not hearing, or hearing but not listening. So but the situation is critical, and so children have a bit more of a separated or disturbed attention span, maybe then we would be able to observe than before. This is it from my side. I'm hopeful that I'm within the timeline. And I am hopeful that we have many, many numbers to come, because the report is going to come later on, and therefore there's many thoughts for the future work as well. Thank you so much, Tatiana. And just each cohort, we have 3,300 students. Overall, we have 4,500. Therefore, we'll be continuing to analyze the data and both the national report, and we are working on it, on the finalization of this national report together with all of the data. And so right now, the last presentation, and then questions and answers from media, right? And so we are welcoming Angela Cebanu, a technical specialist on tobacco control of the regional WHO office in the WHO Euro. So Angela, can you hear us okay, and are you here with us?
Very well, thank you. Thank you.
Да, у вас 10 хвилин.
So you have 10 minutes for the timing, and then so that you please stay with us a bit for timing for questions and answer session, and if you would be so kind.
Yeah, because what you hear before, you hear about what is happening, about the situation, and now I'll try to answer why this is happening. Because the World No Tobacco Day is revealing the tactics. The current World No Tobacco Day, the topic revealing the tactics that tobacco and nicotine industries use to make their harmful products seems attractive, and aim to promote policies to protect the next generation. So, but before we'll dive to the topic, let's take a quick look to the broader context. If you examine the global tobacco use trends, you see that in 2000, the Southeast Asia region had the highest rate of the tobacco use. However, the projection indicates that by 2025, its average rate will be nearly equal to the European region, around 24.4%. And by 2030, it might even fall below it. So this means that our region, European region, is projected to have the highest tobacco use globally. This position is no one should aspire to. This is a stark reminder that urgent work is still needed. Next slide, please. Despite the efforts that the European region did, is only expected to have a 17% relative reduction in tobacco use by 2025. So this is far short of the global target of the 30%. As you see on the slide, while 11 countries are on track, most of the countries, 34 countries, and among them is Ukraine as well, are likely to fall short. And there's alarmingly some countries, including the Republic of Moldova, Croatia, Slovakia, that are projected to see an increase. These statistics underline the importance of the strong and sustained policy action. Next slide, please. Just to understand how nicotine and tobacco products gain such traction, we must consider three core drivers. This is attractiveness, addictiveness, and toxicity. Bright colors, sleek design, youth-friendly packaging, and flavors draw users in. Then nicotine hooks them, and while toxic substances cause long-term health damage. This combination creates a dangerous cycle of initiation and dependence. Next slide, please. This year campaign focuses on exposing how the industry makes harmful products appealing to young people. The key tactics include flavoring and additives that make products taste better and hide harshness. Deceptive product design, such items that resemble toys or sweets, and targeting marketing through the appealing visuals and digital platforms. These tactics encourage the initiation of use and make harder to quit. Next slide, please. The flavors are a major driver of the youth appeal. Research shows that young people prefer sweet taste and smells, especially fruit and candy flavor. And flavored products are seen to be more enjoyable and less harmful. And e-cigarettes in particular offer an overwhelming variety. Over 16,000 unique flavors were identified in 2017. Next slide, please. Even when flavors are regulated, the industry finds a way around the rules. And one example is flavor accessories. Add-ons that don't contain nicotine or tobacco therefore fall outside many legal restrictions. These loopholes highlights the need for comprehensive regulation that anticipates industry tactics. Next slide, please. Targeting specific groups is not new. In 1950, filters were introduced during rising concern about the lung cancer. They were promoted in the way that reduce harm, but filters actually provided no health benefit and served primarily as a marketing tool. This is a long-standing pattern of deception designed to reassure consumers and delay regulations. Next slide, please. The terms like mild, light, and LOTA were used to imply reduced harm. Although many countries have banned these descriptors, companies continue to use alternative terms and branding strategies to mislead consumers and maintain the sales. Next slide, please. Many nicotine products are designed for discrete use. And you can see on their slide that e-cigarettes can look like USB drivers or cosmetic item, or even hoodies with inbuilt vaping mechanism. The nicotine pouches also designed and marketed to enable discrete consumption. They are small, easy to hide, and come in packages with built-in waste compartments. The goal is to make use easy, inconspicuous, and constant. Next slide, please. Beyond the consignment, many products are made to look like things associated with childhood, like candies, drinks, toys. This lowers perceived risk and fosters curiosity. By linking nicotine products with fun and innocence, the industry encourages experimentation among the very populations most vulnerable to addiction. Next slide, please. Major companies now include electronic cigarettes, heated tobacco products, and nicotine pouches in their portfolios. They are promoted as a clean or reduced alternatives, but history teaches us to be cautious. The tobacco industry has a long record of distorting science to downplay harm. And leaked documents show that this continues even today, with companies like PMI that is manipulating evidence to serve their interests. Next slide, please. Today, industry uses the digital platforms to great effect. Influencers and content creators, often without age warnings or transparency, promote products to massive audience. A study that was conducted recently showed that nearly 70,000 Instagram posts that was used, and 68% of them featured individuals aged 12 to 24. The reach and influence are undeniable. The next slide, please. Recently published report by Stop Driving Addiction reveals how companies like PMI and BAT partners with Formula One to access young global audience. Through initiatives like F1 or Formula One Kids, viewers are exposed to e-cigarettes branding as well as gambling and alcohol ads. This is all cleverly packaged as entertainment for children. Next slide, please. The industry claims that their products are for adults, but evidence tells us a different story. Candy flavors, bright playful colors, cartoon characters, sleek toy-like design, these features are clearly aimed to attract youth, not adult smokers. Next slide, please. What is the results? You also hear before the results what is happening in Ukraine, but this is average that is presented on the European region. And in 2022, 12.5% of adolescents in the region were using electronic cigarettes compared to just 2% of adults. In some countries, electronic cigarettes among youth is higher than cigarette smoking, and we saw this the same in Ukraine. This is a public health crisis in the making, and it demands immediate policy attention. Next slide, please. The All No Tobacco Day is a moment to recommit. And everyone, as was mentioned before, and Jan also highlighted that every one of us can play a role, and governments must lead with the strong policies. The key measures include the banning all flavoring agents and flavor accessories, regulating product design, requiring plain packaging, prohibiting all forms of advertising, promotion, and sponsorship. Please move the slides. Also ensuring that there is also the aerosol and nicotine and the smoke-free public places. We also need to support quitting people to quit. And also the raising taxes is one of the important measures to reduce the affordability of these products. Can you please move the slides? And another click. Yeah, the last slide, just I want to mention that all of us have a role and we have to act in order to protect our youth and to ensure the health future for all. Thank you.
Angela, thank you so much for this presentation. Thank you so much. We would need those encouraging remarks so that to find some of the answers to questions that we speakers actually placed to the audience and to themselves and the audience to the speakers, which was really important for us. The information itself was important, and also clear that it explains some of the or most of the negative trends that we are having today. And as you mentioned, we are having the next stage of crisis in making and the use of nicotine and tobacco products. Thank you so much, colleagues. Now the floor is given to journalists. If you have any questions, representative of mass media, so that before we are in this meeting, so we can answer the questions. So just media and everything else later on will move into the discussion at roundtable. Irina Markevich, 1+1 channel, can you tell us this comparison to the 2017 in 3%? Is this connected with the spread of the modern means for smoking, or is there any other factor? So is it just novel product or anything else that's considered acting for Ukraine? Thank you. So we don't know specifically like which factors are actually of influence, but what we can say for certain which factors and which congregation of factors has actually influenced that. First of all, what we saw is the appearance of a number of alternative tobacco and other products that we had today. So the tobacco products for the HTPs, nicotine pouches, snus and others, so that spreading or making bigger set of what can be used and delivery systems for nicotine, and then they also increase in that too. So the aggressive and colorful marketing of those things through the years, and stress connected with the military and war actions and combat actions are also a factor. But also, I wanted to mention that the electronic cigarettes were not officially banned to sell to children until 2021. We are so late in regulating that of electronic cigarette or e-cigarettes and HTPs, and this was in a significant way is the reason why we're not seeing an effect of change in the regulation and influence of the regulation for adolescents, because for tens of years this product existed. And the gray area was not controlled, not managed, not regulated. And so yes, now we have a new, modern, comprehensive, overreaching regulation that is in line with the European directive, but it was implemented in 2022-2023. And obvious, maybe the influence were not seen at that time. Thank you so much. Also, can I have a few clarifying things? I just missed the numbers, maybe you can help me with. So from those 17.6% of adolescents, 19% of them are having e-cigarettes, right? No, not really. they separated it so that just tobacco product, like all tobacco product, also e-cigarette, they're not a tobacco product. This is a nicotine product. Therefore, apart from those 17.6%, on top of that, 19% is the users of e-cigarettes. How many of them are double users of both of them? We can't really go percentage to percentage, because now we are seeing that in general in the research, and seeing how many adolescents are using probably a few types of tobacco products. Like before, we were usually saying that, the problem of smoking and using cigarettes or other kind of product, that's it. Smoking and cigarettes. And now they can use e-cigarettes, they can use regular cigarettes and nicotine pouches and HTPs. And on top of that, and it's all aiding in future development for smoking in the future. So those 17.6% is all types of tobacco products. Cigarettes, hookah, water pipe, and other types of tobacco products as well, like self-made cigarettes, tobacco, other products. So 19.6% is just e-cigarettes. It's just vapes. And I understand that your question is obvious is stemming from the fact that from those 17%, it's hard to know who is smoking what specifically, but in percentages, so you have I'll help you with that on the next page on the smoking of tobacco. So that no. What I wanted to mention is that 17.6 and 19.6. You cannot add them together and you cannot divide them, because you can't say that those are different categories really. It can be both. The thing is, it can be both. So this analysis is not have the data distribution, but we are working on that, a national report, to see or try to have this data disaggregation and types of that. So okay, media first. And if Natalia Mochanova, Ukrinform, I have a question to either Public Health Center or representative Ministry of Health representative. For a certain period of time, there have been an identification that in regions, hospitalization of a child had happened was the poisoning from the use of those nicotine pouches. So without those like tobacco inside. So I wanted to ask, did you note down, is there statistics that's being tracked in any way? Public Health Center, Ministry of Health are doing like any kind of concern of COVID? There's like a concern that this happens, and so is it possible to implement like a research or study, like how does it influence children, right? And to understand with what we're dealing with, what can we face in the future, right? Because if children are being intoxicated and they're actively using different like nicotine pouches and whatnot, and those smoke-free nicotine means and delivery systems. Well, thank you so much for the question. Honestly speaking, there's no separate statistical reporting on those cases as of now. So those are really, as you mentioned before, this is just singular cases, not because this product is not that. They didn't exist for a long time on the market of Ukraine, then there's no statistical reporting on that. So I don't know if it's going to be implemented anyway. So we need to think of that in the future. But on the influence of this kind of products for the child's body, it's known, right? Because we know that nicotine pouches, they have nicotine, right, in them. And nicotine is the substance, the from capital T substance, that causes addiction, negative influences both nervous system, cardiovascular system. So additional research, as far as I'm concerned, like this product does not require, because the nicotine influence is known, right? Nicotine is there, it exists, it's studied substance, and a lot of things are known about that. The first and foremost, it causes dependency and addiction. That is a disease. And then the second of all, it also is a toxic substance, chemical substance that influences both cardiovascular system, nervous system. Thank you. And in the continuation of what Tatiana had mentioned here, this is this big question on the regulating the market, because of today the manufacturers are proposing to use such and such things that are rapidly delivering high doses, high amounts of nicotine right into the bloodstream. They can in itself cause a negative acute consequences. But this is the matter of regulating, of market of that. If they are to take that they are delivering nicotine fast, then the number of regular cigarettes that you would have had to consume to get like the same amount of nicotine from pouch would be just incomparable from that just one pouch that somebody used. Well, thank you so much for that. The colleagues online, journalists, or maybe you have any questions, there is an ability to ask 1 or 2 questions. Okay, before we waiting for people online to ask questions, maybe one other call for questions, and then Mitro raised his hand. He just left. Okay, he left. He's left. And okay. I think we presented this topic correctly. I will be finishing this press conference, and so we also have 5 to 10 minute break, and then we will be moving to. We'll ask you to stay seated, and then about some of the aspects of the research and so what to do and what does it mean for us. Representatives of whoever can stay, please stay. Ministry of Education, we would really like for you to stay, to have a talk, Public Health Center, Tatiana, like to what extent, if you can. So thank you all so much for your participation and for your attention. Thank you.